Brett Hudson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. After the earlier and somewhat unexpected segue to another omnibus bill on the order paper, that being the Statutes Amendment Bill, I think I'll return right now to the omnibus bill that is the Statutes Repeal Bill, the one that is actually set down on the order paper for this evening. A bill that will reduce and eliminate unnecessary and redundant legislation. By doing so, by having better and less regulation, we help to make our country more productive, to help our international competitiveness and ultimately, Mr Speaker, actually to improve our living standards. By making the body of existing legislation easier for users to navigate and also actually easier for departments to administer. And in this bill, we will remove some 128 laws, reducing the number of public acts by something around 10%, and along the way also removing parts of 8 other acts. Well worth doing to help us be a more productive and efficient body of law. Mr Mark, Ronnie Mark, as he referred himself, raised some concerns about what acts are included or omitted from the Statutes Repeal Bill. Well, when considering what you might or might not include in the bill, one could consider a way to make sure you get it right is to consult, which is exactly what the government did. So in October 2015, a draft of the bill was put out for public submissions, giving people the opportunity to comment on what was proposed to be repealed and potentially on what was not included. So what is before the House has already been tested in the public, and therefore we can conclude has some degree of support already. The other thing that Mr Mark mentioned was something about camps, and he waxed lyrically about his enjoyment as young Ronnie Mark in said camps and how it was terrible that this government didn't seem to appreciate them. But being a little confused, he seemed to miss the point that he was actually referring to a dissolution act. So while talking about how much he loved the camps, he was actually talking about why are we repealing an act that dissolved those boards in 1999. Well, I've got good news for Mr Mark, because one could ask oneself, in repealing some acts, what implications are there for those acts and provisions that are removed? Will they force some acts to come back into force? The answer is no. No. The Interpretation Act 1999 has a number of provisions that deal with the effect of repealing legislation, and it confirms that the repeal of an enactment does not affect the validity, invalidity, effect or consequences of anything done under the enactment, any existing right, interest, title, immunity or duty, status or capacity, an amendment made by the enactment to another enactment or similar matters. So, Mr Mark, this Statutes Repeal Bill, should it be passed in this House, will not affect the Dissolution Act, which you so fondly referred to. On that note, Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Carmel Cipollone.
Speaker, I'm not going to take a very long call on this one. I just want to